Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the July 30th meeting of the Common Council to order. I am going to ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling.
Present.
Rote.
Here.
Turner.
He is excused.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham.
Here.
Grobe.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Halverson.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Novak.
Here.
9 present, 1 excused.
We have a quorum. Please rise if you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderwoman Noling. Thank you. We will move on to Part D of our agendas. We have 3 items under public hearings, and I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 1.
Conditional use permit for Precision Auto Body MKE, a proposed light motor vehicle service use at 1649 South 83rd Street.
Thank you, and I'll turn it over to staff. Mr. Scher.
Thank you, Mayor. The first hearing this evening is a proposed auto body repair shop in a former, in a warehouse on 83rd Street. This is a light industrial area zoned I-1. It is currently vacant, but there is a tenant interested in occupying about 11,000 square feet of space. Light motor vehicle services, including auto body, are considered conditional uses, and therefore this has gone before the city's planning commission for site landscaping architectural review as well as conditional use consideration, and the purpose for this public hearing this evening. The surrounding uses within the 83rd Street area are light industrial to the east, north, and south, and then you have commercial use to the west, which is a multi-tenant shopping center, including some restaurants and shops and so on. One unique portion of this site is that about the highlighted area here, the red dashed area, is being demolished, and actually the building has been, this portion of the building has been demolished. The roof had actually collapsed previously, and so that portion of the building is being completely demoed. The walls will be shored up, and a new parking space will be added to support the future auto body use. This is the view of the site plan after demolition. And again, the remaining building that would remain for auto body use, there are 2 curb access points off of 83rd Street, which would remain, 2 overhead doors, and then 5 outdoor parking spaces. The driveway access here on the very southern end of the building, which leads back to the parking area. Now, that commercial center is just to the west of here, and there is proposed some proposed site improvements. We'll get to that in the next slide. But as far as the proposed use goes, there will be 6 employees, and then the floor plan indicates access off of 83rd Street. Those are the OHDs, or the overhead doors, on the east side of the building. And then you can see the internal different uses, primarily all shop space, including some frame and bodywork repair areas, a spray booth, 2 lifts within the building, as well as internal storage of roughly about 9 vehicles within the building. Keeping cars off the street is important to the city, and it's important to other businesses within this area. We don't want cars overflowing from this site into 83rd Street, blocking people's access to their businesses and other shops within this corridor. So the operations primarily within this building are to be service estimation. It'll be handled at this one of 2 overhead doors here. Basically, the customer pulling in, entering the building for a 10 to 15 minute consultation and estimate, and then from there the customer leaves the car, and they do have 2 mechanical lifts, and then the other internal vehicle storage, and the spray booth is further back here. That spray booth is going to be fully filtered. It's a carbon filtered system. The type of booth is shown here, the brand, and whether you're painting rims on cars or the full car itself, it'll be large enough to accommodate painting of vehicles and minimizing, if not fully eliminating, emissions to the surrounding neighborhood. It has four-step filtration process, I'm told, that eliminates the, VOCs within and outside of the building for safety, as well as reducing nuisances. There is a site plan or landscaping plan proposed. The area where they've demolished the building and creating some parking, they're also going to be putting up a new chain link fence with evergreen landscaping to help screen and buffer that parking area. And they're going to be doing some cleanup along the south property line and installing another chain fence along the south property line. And there will be some planters along the east side or 83rd Street entrance side. This is the existing building that's since been demolished, this portion here. And this is the 83rd Street side. There'll be some new planters added out in front along the sidewalk area. And then these are the portions of the building that will be shored up, I guess, with the existing building being removed. These walls have are in the process right now of being shored up and sided with new metal siding. And these are some progress pictures as of today, just looking at that east side elevation of the building. This is just a sort of an undercoating installation layer, and then the finished siding material goes over the top of that. And then the same thing will be done here on this wall here. This is just starting right now. And this is the future parking lot, and there will be landscaping in this area as well as a fence to sort of secure that rear parking area from passersby. Another progress pic. So Plan Commission has recommended approval. There have been no objections to date. And Plan Commission has asked for some drainage, grading details, the location, the refuse location, or four-sided enclosure, and property maintenance. And all of that is agreeable to the property owner, and the future tenant will be leasing, sort of build to suit. The owner is setting up to build to suit the future tenant. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Chair. Are there any questions on public hearing number 1 from the members of the Common Council? Seeing none, are there any members of the audience with questions or comments on public hearing number 1? Okay, seeing none, that will close our first public hearing. And I will ask the clerk to introduce public hearing number 2.
Conditional use permit for Sugar Studio LLC, a proposed food production use at 2201 South 84th Street.
Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Mayor. This is an existing mixed-use building. The ground floor was formerly Daniel's Catering. The proposed Sugar Studio business is going to be similar in nature, providing a commissary-style kitchen for pastry, bakery, and confections. They're also going to sublease a portion of the area for other businesses that want to lease some commercial kitchen area. So very similar to places like Carrie's Krispies have a very similar business model. The hours of operation are 24 hours, 7 days a week, and deliveries are only during daytime hours. There is a 3-bedroom apartment on the upper level. The basement area, I guess, is consisting of just primarily storage for the business operation, and the first floor will be 2,500 square feet of the food production area. There is an attached garage behind the building here for deliveries, sheltered deliveries, and even parking. And then, And then the second floor is a 3-bedroom apartment. So Plan Commission has recommended approval. The refuse area will need to be 4-sided. The tenant is agreeable to that, and there have been no objections to date. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the Common Council on public hearing number 2?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Rote.
Steve, with the food trucks always having to have a home base that they have to return to every 24 hours, could this in the future be a home base where we'd see a lot of food trucks overnight there?
Yeah, that could be. I mean, it's been that in the past with Daniel's Catering. I think it was like a Street Za and some others that would use it occasionally for, a service base. But there was, in the past, there's been routinely a food truck if, 1 or 2 parked there. There is a parking area on the east side of the building that would accommodate, I believe, about 6 or so vehicles, of which food truck could be parked in that location along Grant Street. yeah, just to the east of that building.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Road. Any other questions, comments from the Common Council on public hearing number 2?
Mayor Devine?
Alderwoman Grisham.
Just a follow-up to Alderman Rote's question, when you're speaking of those trucks potentially parking there, that would be on private property, on their property, not street parking, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council on public hearing number 2? See none. Are there any members of the audience with questions, comments on public hearing number 2? Okay, then we will close our second public hearing, and I will ask the clerk to introduce our third public hearing.
Resolution on the vacation and discontinuance of the part of an alley located at north of West Hicks Street between South 73rd Street and South 74th Street.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. JJ Enterprises owns properties involved here. First and foremost, the 1900 South 74th property, and also the recently consolidated two properties you see here, consolidated to one lot, properties along 73rd Street. In between the properties that they own, there's a 14-foot wide by about 100-foot long section of alley that they've requested be vacated. So the abutting property owner, in this case JJ Enterprises, has requested that area be vacated. It's been reviewed by staff in our engineering department, and we support the vacation of that alley right of way. There is a proposal to, since this has been consolidated, there's a proposal to pave, landscape, and drain the property to a bioswale in this area. There is a proposed outdoor storage lot that's in the making on this lot. A new fence is starting to go up around the property, and eventually, if this is vacated, the grand plan is to connect these two properties together for cross-access between, the JJ Enterprises property on this side as well as on this side of the vacated area. And that's just the rough dimension of the area to be vacated, and then more specifically, what our engineering department has prepared here is the technical drawing showing the vacation of right-of-way and then maintaining a 10 by 14 foot wide stormwater easement area here. So even though that portion is technically being vacated, that no improvements be conducted within that hatched area on the very south end of that leg of valley. And then, so this has gone through a process of public notice. A Class 3 notice has been issued by the city and sent to abutting property owners. Property owners may object if they so choose. We've received nothing in writing. If property owners do object, it would take a 2/3 vote by Common Council to override that objection. We have no objections to date, and Plan Commission has recommended approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments from the Common Council on public hearing number 3? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the members of the audience on public hearing number 3? Okay, then we will close our third and final public hearing, and we will move on to public participation, which is Part E on our agendas. This is when the Common Council may receive information from members of the public during this 30-minute period. Each speaker must announce their name and address to the council and sign in at the podium. Please limit your comments to one statement of no longer than 5 minutes. If possible, try to avoid repetitive topics, and the council cannot take actions on the topics raised and cannot discuss the topics raised with the speakers. So if there is anybody that wishes to address the council under public participation, and I have a feeling that there is, we'll ask you to come up to the microphone, and I will be keeping the timer.
Hey, I'm Melissa Shruby. This is Glenn Shruby, and we live at 7528 West Blake Road. So we run a successful bar, GM's Doghouse, located on 68th and National for over 6 years. We're also the owners of the property at 7534 Beloit Road, and we're going in front of the board for the liquor license tonight. We're in front of this board With the same request 2 years ago, we worked with planning, zoning for months, addressing concerns that we inherited from the past owner and leasee. And due to the previous building owner's lack of responsiveness, the past leasee's neglect and mismanagement, and some concerns from the neighbors, we were unfairly denied a liquor license. We are here to assure to the council that we have worked with our alderperson and have addressed all the neighbors' concerns and taken care of the issues that were there long before we were. A major concern was the driveway that connected Beloit Road to the alley that brought unwelcome traffic through the alley and shining lights and windows. We have blocked this drive since we moved in next door, and it is now permanently closed with the construction of a garage with slab and footwalls already in place. This is no longer an issue. There was some complaint about lights in the back of the building disrupting neighbors, and there are no lights in the back of the building. Due to the inconsiderate habits and allowances from the previous leasee, there were loud noises and bottles being dumped late at night. Our bar doors will be closed in the evening hours, and bottles will not be dumped after 10. Our current bar is in the middle of a block between two residential houses, and we have never had any noise complaints from any neighbors on 68th or 69th Street. There's an open dialogue with all of them, and they are valued customers. We would mirror the same rules and expectations. We also live next door to the bar in Beloit, so we can manage that bar. Our bar hours are listed from 7 a.m. till close on our application. The state of Wisconsin has made a decision to permit bars to be open during these hours. Though we have not finalized our hours of business, we do not intend to be open at 6 a.m. We have selected the broad window of hours so we can open early a few days a year. This allows us to open those days without having to repeatedly go in front of the board or council for each occasion. We have a broad range of hours has been selected by other alderpersons to other people applying for new licenses for exactly the same reason, and we should not be an exception. There was an incident several years ago where someone was assaulted behind the bar. We were not aware of the circumstances surrounding what happened or who was involved. It happened years before we purchased the bar. The area behind the bar is now completely fenced in, and after the completion of our garage, the backyard will also be fenced in. There will be no way for anyone to go behind the bar or through the alley. We're also willing to install cameras for surveillance. We do not believe one unforeseen tragic incident while under the previous ownership is a reason to deny a new owner a license. As bar owners, we work hard to maintain a fun and safe atmosphere and remove any persons that may jeopardize this. Unfortunately, sometimes bad things happen that are out of your control. In the beginning of this year, we had a bartender that committed suicide. There was absolutely nothing, no indication that he was going to take his own life. There was absolutely nothing we could have done about it. We wish we could have. There's another incident that happened at the bar, Bugging Out. A 14-year-old boy was murdered during a birthday party. It was a horrible tragedy, and there are now new owners, which have never been owners of a bar before, and that have worked with the city and were granted a liquor license. The bar not having parking was a topic. We have identified at least 47 other bars in West Dallas that only have street parking. We have been in contact with owners of the dentist's office at the corner of 76 and Beloit, and they have provided a statement that our customers can park in their lot outside of their business hours. This lot provides more parking than at least 15 other bars with parking lots. I have monitored the parking patterns on the block of Beloit for the last few weeks, and there's an average of 2 to 3 cars parked there on the entire block after 5 p.m. Someone stated that West Dallas does not need another bar. This isn't another bar. This building has been a bar since on or before 1955 per the original liquor license. There's not another bar within 7 blocks east, 6 blocks north, 27 blocks west, and none to the south of us. The area is not flooded with bars, and people deserve a nice place they can go and enjoy themselves that's safe and within walking distance. If the city doesn't want any more bars, then why are they continuing to approve new bars? All the neighbors that live in the neighborhood knew there was an established bar there when they purchased their homes. It's been a bar for 69 years. We have proven ourselves over and over again, not only by leading by example with the bar that we currently run, but also with the time, money, effort, and willingness we've shown to improve the properties we purchased. At our last attempt to be granted a liquor license, an alderperson said the house that we were living in needed to be blighted. Though the residents had nothing to do with the licensing for the next bar, we are now glad that they mentioned it. We have gone above and beyond restoring our home and the bar inside and out to improve these properties, and we continue to do so. We've addressed all of the valid concerns that were brought to us from the council and the neighbors. We have also provided proof of everything through photos, documents, and provided all of that to the city. We've been
Ms.
told by
Ruby?
numerous people that no matter what we...
Sorry, I just want to let you know you have 30 seconds
Oh,
left.
shoot. Well, okay.
You can go a little bit over. We won't
The
throw
crying
you
didn't
out.
help, okay. We have been told by numerous people that no matter what we do, there's going to be people that are not going to be satisfied. We've been resented by some of our neighbors since the moment we moved in. We've had the city and police called on us over a dozen times for bizarre reasons while we were doing work. We've always welcomed the city and police over. They've never found anything wrong. We can't help that we bought the place and someone had to move, and we cannot fight against someone's perceived issues of what might or could happen when this bar opens. We're completely exhausted with being responsible for the actions and problems of a previous bar owner. It makes absolutely no sense and is completely unjustifiable. I don't think anybody else in this room would be willing to accept the blame. We ask that the council take into consideration the distance in which some of these opposing participants live today. This matter should involve people living within a fair proximity to the bar that would directly be affected by its licensing, not individuals enlisted to come here to protest without any proof backing up what they're saying or having any connection to our business or our business location.
Sorry,
This-
I'm going to ask you to conclude because we are over 5 minutes, if you just want to wrap it up real quick.
Okay.
Thanks.
In our past attempt to acquire a license, other persons were working, instead of working on both sides, pitted people against each other, and this intolerance has brought unnecessary hostility and it's been allowed to spread. We're asking the council today to approve our liquor license. We've done everything that's been asked of us and more. We deserve the ability to operate this business for its intended use. Each applicant that applies for a license should have a fair and absolutely unbiased chance to obtain a liquor license. A decision should not be made ahead of time by any alderperson to just reject an applicant based on their personal opinions, their biases, with no backing or facts that would prove that we are unfit. If we weren't unfit, then we wouldn't have a license right now and be in good standing for the last 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does anybody else wish to address the council under public participation?
My name is Daryl Wagner. I live across the street from the bar, 7535 West Alice, or Westville Light Road. We're here again. This is the third time that the Shrubies are applying for a license, or their agent. Prior to that, we had Scott Cron, who was also denied a license based off of the property being deemed a nuisance property and problems at the properties. I'm going to ask you to indulge me and pull out a thing I put on your desk called packet number 2. This is information on the MLS listing. It shows Shore West. It was listed by Keller Williams, but for whatever reason that would not pop any information up. I'm going to point some things out. In the listing it says the roof is 6 to 7 years old. If you look at that first photo with the circle, that's the old 6-foot metal satellite dish that's on the roof. Anybody that knows anything about roofing knows that the roofers would have torn that off and not put it back up there because you don't want holes or and the least amount of seams in a rubber roof. It would also have been a big production fixing that roof. You would have had to hoist that up like a big carpet roll. You would have had to tear the old materials off. You don't lay a rubber roof down on there. In the listing, it also says there's forced air heat. If you turn to page 2, you can see there's a boiler in the basement and you have radiant heat. Trust me, there's a point being made here. They list that some of the windows are new. Again, we didn't see any construction workers there replacing windows. It lists that the doors are new. The doors are the old wood frames with plywood centers. They advertise on the last page that they have a huge fenced backyard. I pulled up the GIS maps. That's the first 2 that show the property boundary lines. Picture 3 shows what belongs to the dry cleaner. Pictures 4 and 5 show what they're advertising as their fenced-in backyard to prospective buyers. The point of bringing all this up is that they've been deceptive in their MLS listing. There's an old rule of thumb, falsus in unis, falsus in omnibus, which basically translates to you're deceitful once, you're deceitful with everything else that you testify to or witness. They say there's off-street parking. We want to know where. The west side of the building, they told Alderman Novak that they were going to turn into green space, and that she conveyed that information out to us, not the Shrubies. They're also going up and over the sidewalk and the curb to get to that parking spot, paved area. On the east side of the building, you've got parking for maybe 4 vehicles and maybe space to maneuver in and out. And that's right if they park up to 75/28 against the building. So isn't there a setback for that parking lot that they have to stay so many feet away from a building? What about handicap access? Do they have to be, with a new business, do they have to provide handicap access and parking? Got ahead of myself a little bit. As a reminder, when the Shrubies bought this property, they knew there were licensing issues, they knew there were code violations, and that the neighbors objected to this being relicensed as a bar because of the past problems at the location. That all falls on them. They were deceitful when they first applied for the license. I don't feel they're being 100% honest with everybody here about what they're doing now. Their bar application license is the same business plan that they had when they originally applied. We, in our petition, have 142 neighbors now. I did, on the petitions you have, there was someone that called in after I sent it to you. There were 60 homes that I had no contact from because no one was home. There were 15 people that objected but did not want to put their name down on paper. 75% of the businesses, including Easy Motors and the businesses in the Rupina's business, object to them having a tavern license because of problems in the neighborhood with their patrons. And then as a former real estate broker, their listing was on the market for 58 days. A commercial property on average takes 6 months to sell, and that's with optimal conditions. So this, oh, we tried to list it, we tried to sell it, I think it's just a ploy to get some sympathy from everybody here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. If anyone else wishes to address the council, they can come up.
I'll stand aside.
No rush.
Hello, council members, Mayor Devine. My name is Kelly Marg. My husband and I live at 2635 South 75th Street. We have owned our home in West Dallas for 35 years. I looked up some information which I felt was very enlightening to tonight's discussion regarding the proposed bar at 7534 West Beloit Road. In 2016, Milwaukee Magazine posted an article titled, "Most of America's Drunkest Cities Are in Wisconsin." West Dallas ranked number 17 in America. In 2019, Wall Street released its annual ranking of the nation's drunkest cities. West Dallas once again ranked number 17, and I quote, "in the nation." 2024 World Population Review, drunkest cities in America. West Dallas ranked number 20. Again, not just Wisconsin, America. Does the city of West Dallas really want to continue to hold on to this title? Currently, there are 56 bars operating within a 2-mile radius of the property which is under review. Of those 56 bars, 16 are within 1-mile radius of that property and my home. The licensing board has twice denied the Shrubies to operate a bar at this location, at which time some board members stated that this location will never be a bar. I honestly find it frustrating and hard to believe that for a third time, we, the homeowners and residents in the neighborhood surrounding the property, must plead our case again and implore with you, our alder people, the people we have elected to represent our community, our concerns. And as a community, we oppose the reopening of the bar at that location. I will add that the people here tonight are only a fraction of those who oppose this bar. Quite simply, we have enjoyed the peace and quiet since the bar has been closed. We have enjoyed not being awakened in the middle of the night due to fights and loud music. We have been confident that people will not be entering our yards, urinating in them, stealing or vandalizing our property. The Shrubies attest that we will not experience this behavior if they open the bar. We residents put little faith in their claim. History has proven one cannot reason, predict, or control human behavior when there is alcohol involved. With that said, if the Shrubies plan to serve alcohol from morning to 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m., even security cannot control people's actions once they leave the premises. West Dallas is no longer the factory town it once was in the 1950s. We do not have the first, second, and third shift jobs there once were. There is no need longer to have bars open from the AM, starting in the AM and ending in the AM when operating in a heavily residential area. The bar which the Shrubies are proposing would most likely attract patrons from outside of our immediate area. It will not be a neighborhood-friendly bar. One example of a successful bar which is respectful of the residents is station number 6. The operating hours begin no earlier than 11 a.m. and no later than 10 p.m. I fail to understand the logic in allowing or supporting the Shrubies to open the proposed bar. It certainly would not be a boost to the neighborhood. In fact, it would be contradictory to the vision of you, Mayor Devine, and you, the Common Council, and the citizens of West Dallas. I applaud the many changes which have been made and improved upon to create a family-friendly community, such as our schools, our parks, the restaurants, our farmers market, and free summer concerts. I want to make it clear, I love West Allis, we love West Allis. That is why my husband and I chose to make it our home for over 35 years. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does anybody else wish to address the council under public participation?
Hello, my name is Dave Stradle. I live at 2181 South 96th Street. I've known for Glenn only for about 50 years, and I just wanted to be more of a character about his character. What he says he's going to do, he is going to do. And everybody is like against him, saying, oh, this is what he's going to say or what he's thinking about doing. But I really know the man, and what he says he's going to do, he will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address the council under public participation this evening?
My name is Nicole Strader. I live at 2536 South 76th Street, West Allis, Wisconsin. Sorry. So I just want to touch base on a few things. I want to talk about mental health. Okay, so as mental health, as we know, the rates are at an all-time high in our world. So why would we want to promote another bar in a small neighborhood? Why not a coffee shop, candy shop, pizzeria, or even remodel to match the upstairs and make it a rental property? Majority of people go to a bar after a hard day of work, out for a drink, just to unwind or relieve stress. Intoxicated people are unpredictable, which means there's no guarantees, fights won't break out, vandalism won't happen, and numerous other issues won't arise. So the owners cannot guarantee the future of a bar because we cannot predict human beings. We were told surveillance cameras would be put up as a security system to better provide us a safe environment from the first meeting we were at. As I recall, this is the third time we've been here and no security cameras have been installed at the bar or on the premises. We feel that we were lied to from the beginning and that the dishonesty from the Shrubies, we lack fault in believing their next steps. They're both very nice people. I've had a conversation with them. It's just, I'm the type of person that actions speak louder than words. And when you sit here and tell me that you have permission from a dentistry that's closed, that people can park in, that makes no sense to me. Where are the facts to that? When you went around and you handed pieces of paper and you put it in our mailbox, that's not a letter addressed to us. That should have been put in the door, not a mailbox. That's not a federal letter. I feel like the effort made for them to come and talk to us, they don't want to face us and talk to us. They don't want to get to know us as a neighborhood. They isolate themselves from us. Somebody that really wants to work with us in a community to make a better place, we are all for businesses. Why not make it something other than a bar? Why does it have to be a bar? That's one of our biggest questions. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks very much.
My name is Brian Marg. You just heard my wife Kelly. We live at 2635 South 75th Street. Mayor Devine and members of the Common Council. Our backyard has a direct view of the front door of the proposed bar at 7534 West Beloit Road. We have witnessed what the bar crowd has brought to our neighborhood before. The unwanted traffic, vehicles lined up on Beloit Road, cars squealing their tires, speeding away with disregard. The fights by men and women, screaming and arguing What's next in our neighborhood? Gunshots? Men and women cutting through our alley and urinating on the side of the dentist's office. Men and women cutting through our own yard, 11, 12, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Oh, hey, I'm just cutting through to get to my house. These behaviors will happen again in our neighborhood if a bar is permitted to operate at 7534 West Beloit Road. Would you want that behavior in your backyard? We do not want a bar at 7534 West Beloit Road. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Anybody else wish to address the council under public participation?
Hello, my name is Terry Wrench. I live at 7512 West Beloit Road, which is located 3 houses to the bar. In the past, my concern is with the traffic. They're on the corner there. We have 76th Street, an intersection on Beloit, where cars can make U-turns now. They have had past accidents in the past. Our cars have once in a while been hit while we have it parked on the street. And my dad is 91 years old, in which he cannot even, when the bar was up, come to visit me because he cannot walk the distance, or we cannot park our cars when we want to park. If we went to the store, we just have that limited space in the back by the alley. The other thing is what was brought up in the past is true, but over time, life has changed, people change. We have where we can sit out in our backyards. We work in our backyards at night doing various things like fixing our cars or just visiting with the neighbors. And with people coming into our neighborhood that we don't know, they bring a different set of group of personalities in. I don't feel where I am in my house that I cannot leave my window open anymore with the people that were previously, when the bar was open. As they stated, they don't see many cars on our street now, but the bar is not open. Before, you could hear the people, as I said, with the problems that we had. I feel that it may or may not happen, but I do not want to have to be subject to that again. I am retiring next year, and I feel I worked enough of my time, over 50 years, to afford a house that I can live in without having to put up with future not people that come into our neighborhood, especially now that we have children going to the park, riding their bikes, and families we're seeing more that are moving into our area. I do not think a bar is going to be adaptable to our area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to address the council under public participation this evening?
My name is Frederick Frigo. I live at 2539 South 75th Street, several houses down from where this proposed bar would be. I think many of the speakers here have characterized the behaviors of patrons of the bar, disruption, unpleasantness that occurs when people stumble out of the bar late at night. Broken glass bottles in the sidewalk, and arguments taking place outside. Of course, there was that beating, and the police found a man in the alley, Chad Dahlberg. And so I don't think it was the management necessarily of the bar that can watch every single move of every single patron who's in the bar, and these things happen. And it's very unsettling for those of us who live in houses close by. The big issue is parking. There is no parking at this proposed bar. It's street parking, and that street parking is in front of my house. And I have a corner lot, so it's on two sides of my house. The dentist's office is closed, it's vacant. They don't plow the snow there, and so there's not going to be any cars parking there in the winter unless somebody starts plowing the snow there. And there's no parking on 76th Street either because it's a major thoroughfare, so it all comes down to Beloit and residential streets, and people coming through our backyards, as was described earlier, waking us up in the middle of the night. As nice as these people are who own the property there, there's nothing they can do to control all the patrons who come in and out of there once they leave the establishment. So I'm therefore in favor of not granting the liquor license to this particular institution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We've got about 5 to 8 minutes left of our 30 minutes. Does anybody else wish to address us under public participation this evening? Got one more.
Not sure what I'm going to say, but I'll say this.
Can you give us, start with your name and address, please?
Kelly Fisher, 2475 South 75th Street. We've lived there for 23 years, I believe we're going on now. My grandparents owned the property. So we've been there when it was just a gravel field, or they have. The house has been there that long. And I applaud everything that you've done, Mayor Devine, for the city of West Dallas, because I've seen it change over the years. I've seen it develop into something to be proud of. I can't say it always was. When I grew up, I lived on 77th Street, across from McCarty Park, and one of the reasons that my parents decided to move us to a suburb was because of the danger. And this was back in the 80s. So I think many people were concerned when they knew that we were purchasing the house where my parents left from. But I honestly thought there was potential. When we moved in, I don't recall if there was a bar there that was open at the time. I think there was. But what I do recall is that I couldn't leave my windows open when my children were little. When they were about the age of the young girl sitting over here, I feel for them. I don't know where they live exactly, but she was my children's age at the time. They're now grown, 16, 18, and 21. One of them could partake in this bar, although she has no desire to because she remembers drunken people during the day, mind you, that would stumble down our street. Broken bottles that were mentioned. It breaks my heart, but honestly, the last few years have been such a blessing because it's been quiet. There hasn't been disturbance. Our bikes haven't been stolen. People haven't urinated in our backyard or in, well, I shouldn't say that. See, we have a fortune that we're on a hill, but we do have arguments we would have that would occur outside. I can remember distinctly when my husband came out to try and break it up, and I thought, oh no, please don't. We have young children in the house. So I feel for the people that live in our community because they also have young children that we once had. And I couldn't be outside with them for fear of what would take place. Like has just been spoken, they can't control the patrons, but why are we proposing a liquor license to a bar, another bar? Don't we have enough? Don't we have enough? We're in a community where it's filled with people that are trying to communicate with each other and enjoy each other's company, and we can't do that a lot of the times because of the disruption, because of the violence that occurs. And we're trying to clean up West Dallas, right? I think we are. I don't have issues maybe with a bar down Greenfield or someplace where you know or you expect you would drive to it, but to have it right in the middle of a community, of a residential area, that's what bothers me the most. It doesn't belong here. We're trying to clean things up and get that away. I don't mind having a beer garden at McCarty Park. People I've seen walking there and enjoying it and coming back with their families. That's great. But to have a bar that's open from, I don't know what they're proposing, in the morning until the morning of the next day, we don't need it. That's all I'll say. We don't need it.
Thank you. Any last comments under public participation? I know some of you didn't speak. If those of you here, just so you can be heard, are opposed to the license, do you just want to raise your hands if you haven't spoken? Thank you. Thank you. That will conclude public participation, and we are going to move on to section F of our agendas. The room numbers are listed on, they are correctly listed on page 2. Top of your agendas on page 2. If you have questions, if you're here for a license or a permit or some business with the city, you will want to most likely go to one of these meetings. So if you are not sure which room you are supposed to be in, please stop one of us on the way out and we'll make sure that we get you into the proper room. Move on to item G, the mayor's report. I have actually a very thorough mayor's report this evening because a lot has been happening in the city. Very briefly to start, I want to thank both of our police department and our Department of Public Works for the visit from the vice president last week, which was a very rapid turnaround and brought a request from Secret Service for a lot of resources, especially in the wake of what took place in Pennsylvania a few weeks ago. So I just want to take a minute to thank all of the officers from the West Allis Police Department that stayed over and all of the DPW crews that used their equipment to help secure the streets when Vice President Harris spoke at West Allis Central last Tuesday. I do want to thank also our planning department. We had a community bike ride last night, which had probably about 65 people, 70 people. And Alderman Haas, Alderman Weigel, and Alderman Rote were 3 of them. And I was also there. I want to just thank our planning staff for putting that together. And again, we had a couple police officers on bicycles joining us just to help control traffic when we had to cross some of the busier streets. We started and ended at the McCarty Park Beer Garden, and it was a beautiful night for a ride. I want to take a minute to congratulate Brad Curtis, who is retiring from the West Allis Fire Department after 30 years, and I want to thank him for his service. And then 10 years before Brad joined the fire department, some people decided to open up a custard stand on Highway 100 in Hayes, and they are celebrating their 40th anniversary today. So I want to congratulate Jim and Susie Taylor and their families and thank Oscars for being such a big part of the West Allis community. I also neglected to tell my friend Mike Vecchio, who lives over at Heritage House, that he had his 65th birthday earlier this month, and I forgot Mike at the last council meeting, so I'm begging for Mike's forgiveness, and I want to just wish him a happy 65th birthday. I want to remind everybody that State Fair begins Thursday, so there are going to be a lot of visitors, a lot of traffic, and a lot of very unique traffic patterns in the 84th and Greenfield area, so please be careful and pay extra attention if you're going through that neighborhood. And then the last thing is, last Monday was National Night Out at the Farmers Market, and I was down there for a little bit, and I know a lot of us were, and that was a great event. And once again, just thanks to everybody who helped put that on, and thanks to the community who attended and volunteered and made that happen. And hope those that had neighborhood parties on the Tuesday night had much success in that effort too. So that concludes my mayor's report. We'll move on to item H, which is the reports from the alderpersons. Do we have any alderpersons reports this evening?
Mayor Devine?
Alderwoman Keene.
If there's no objection, I was wondering if we could switch the recess locations where admin and economic development stay in the council chambers, and then public safety and public works in the basement, just due to, seems like people might want to hang out and listen to those discussions, and I don't know if we're all going to fit in the basement. gallery.
Yeah, the basement sounds so dire.
Mayor Devine, I have no objection.
No objections from the council? No objection. Then it is done. All right, thank you. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel?
Just a couple quick comments. It wasn't National Night Out. We can't call it National Night Out anymore. It was West Dallas Night Out.
You always got to one-up me.
And you did mention State Fair starts this Thursday and runs for 11 days. And I always remind people, we're going to have a lot of visitors in town, you know, so if you haven't mowed your lawn or you got some weeds, you know, kind of like to put on our best face. You know, we want people to have good thoughts about the city. So, you know, just sweep up the garbage, you know, or mow your lawn if it needs it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Helverson.
Alderman Weigel, I'm still building a retaining wall. I may not have the grass looking perfect, but it'll be done. I just wanted to thank everybody that came out. Marissa and I did a meet and greet on July 21st at Rogers Park. We had a good turnout. Lots of people came out, asked questions, wanted to get to know us. We wanted to get to know them. Why weren't you there? You should come to our next one. We'll let you know when it is. But yeah, thank you to the attendees, the West Dallas, West Milwaukee Rec Department, and the Fire Department for coming out. That's it.
Thank you. Any other reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Haas.
I move for approval of the minutes of the July 10, 2024 Common Council meeting.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Were there any corrections, adjustments, tweaks? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The minutes are approved. We have no standing committee reports under section J. So we will move to item K.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Haas.
There's been a request for separate action on item 10, and specifically that item 10 be referred to the Public Works Committee. And with that, are there any requests for separate action or referrals on any other consent agenda items? Then I move for approval of the consent agenda minus item 10.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will have the clerk, ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling. Aye. Grote.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grobe. Aye. Haas.
Aye.
Helverson.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Novak. Aye. 9 in favor, 1 excused.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Haas.
I move that the Common Council stand in recess until the conclusion of our committee meetings.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in recess. All right, good evening, everybody. We are going to call the Common Council back to order, and I will ask our clerk to take a roll.
Alderperson Noling.
Present.
Rote.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham. Here. Grobe. Here. Haas.
Here.
Helverson.
Here.
Keen. Here. Novak. Here. 9 present, 1 excused.
We have a quorum, and first up will be the Administration Committee, and I will ask our clerk to read out that report.
The Administration Committee recommended adoption of items 29 and 30, adoption of item 31, but the amount was amended to $26,515,000. Adopt item 32, split item 33 into 2 parts, divide the question. The committee recommended approval of the dorm component and then referring the other part, the kitchen offices, to the Capital Improvement Committee in August.
Mayor Devine, I move in accordance with the committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Is there any discussion on the items from the Administration Committee? Questions? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling.
Yes.
Rote.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grobe. Aye. Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Novak. Aye. 9 in favor.
Motion carries. The Administration Committee report is approved. We will move on to the Public Works Committee, and I will ask clerk to read that out.
The Public Works Committee recommended adoption of items 35 and 36 and adoption of item 10.
Mayor Devine, I move in accordance of the committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Rote. Is there any discussion or are there any questions on the report from the Public Works Committee? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Nolding.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grobe.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Novak.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries, and the Public Works Committee report is approved, and we will move on to the Economic Development Committee, and I will ask our clerk to read out that report.
The Economic Development Committee recommended adoption of item 37 and 38, granting item 39 as amended, limiting the amount of cold display just to 96 square feet, 4 cooler doors, no warm storage. Item 40 is held 1 cycle. Item 41 is granted, but with amended hours to what the state law approves. We'll do 42 separately, and then items 43 and 44 were recommended for approval.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine, I move in accordance of the committee report.
Thank you, Alderwoman Keene. Any discussion or questions on the items before us? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling. Aye. Rote.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grobe.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Novak.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. And then we have item 42.
Item 42, the committee recommended on a 4-to-1 vote with conditions that cameras need to be installed inside and outside, that there will be no access to the alley, and the doors are closed when music is played. And no dumping.
No dumping at night.
At night.
Thank you. All right, try to move approval of that one.
Mayor Devine, I move for in accordance of the committee report.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Haas.
Yeah, I am strongly against approving this tavern. We heard from many people who are here, who are the neighbors, who are the most important stakeholders that are strongly against that. And that does it for me. That's the end of the analysis. We've approved other taverns, of course, before. I've been an alderman for 10 years. I've never seen so many neighbors against a particular tavern, and they've come out multiple times. We have to listen to the neighbors and following what the neighbors want on this issue, and that means that we need to deny this. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman Haas. Any other discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Ooh. I think I'm going to go to Alderwoman Novak first, then Alderwoman Grisham.
That's fine.
Sounded like
I
stereo to me.
disagree. I think that these owners have done everything they can to show that they can run a respectable business in our city. They have worked to amend every concern that has been brought to them that is applicable to them. They cannot be held accountable for the past owners' sins and mistakes. And this establishment has been a bar for the better part of 70 years. Had it not been a bar, again, I could see more of it. And I will be voting yes for those reasons tonight. I think they deserve a chance, just like anybody else and like other licenses we've granted.
Thank you. Alderwoman Grisham.
Thank you, Mayor Devine. I'd like to acknowledge both Alderman Haas and Alderwoman Novak's sentiment, and as a proponent for business and also a representative of the community who heard each and every one of your concerns. I appreciate that you took the time to come out. I personally, as a business owner within this community, find it difficult to think that if I were opening a business that regardless of what my plan going forward would be and who I am as an individual and how I run my business would be scrutinized to the level it was. I can appreciate your words and how you care about your community, but I also believe there should be a balance and fairness. West Allis is built on a lot of different businesses, and you can say how many coffee shops there are, and I know that the alcohol factor is the biggest thing for you, and I get it, but I believe that the Shoobies deserve a chance to prove themselves. And if things don't go as they should, as any other bar, not as, and I'm going to say it, that we have 75 people that no matter what now, because you don't want it here, that you're going to make sure that at any given turn you're going to try to not make it here. And I just implore you all to try to be good neighbors. Let them be good neighbors. Let the temperature settle a little bit and try to move forward. We do have the best interests of all people in the community. It's not one over the other, and that's my stand. I'm going to vote yes.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mayor Devine?
Who was that? Alderwoman Grove. I'm looking down that
I
way.
do appreciate everybody who came out to speak. I'm all about neighborhoods and neighborhood participation, but I'm also about, with all respect to Alderman Haas, about us being fair and impartial and treating each applicant the same way we would treat any other applicant and location. Since even in my time on the council, while short, we have approved places that have had issues before and given new applicants a try. With these particular applicants having run a successful business, doing all the things that they've been asked to do. And as I said during the committee meeting, my trust in our police department to watch over things and to report back to us. I want to be fair to everybody. I really love that the neighbors came out, but we as a body have to look out for not just the big group, but those who are looking to participate in our community business-wise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Noling. Aye. Rote.
No.
Weigel.
No.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grobe.
Aye.
Haas.
No.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Novak.
Aye.
6 in favor, 3 opposed.
Motion carries. And then we'll move on to the Public Safety Committee.
The Public Safety Committee recommended holding item 45, non-renewing or denying item 46 based on non-appearance and the record, granting item 46, non-renewal of item 48 based on the non-appearance and record.
Mayor Devine, I move for approval of the Public Safety Committee report.
Thank you, Alderwoman Grisham. Is there any discussion?
Wait a minute, Mayor Devine?
Yes.
I might have misheard. We approved item 47, is that what you said, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
All right. Then I shouldn't have said anything.
I said you granted it.
Or granted it?
Yes.
Yeah, we granted the license.
Yes.
No,
No,
we granted the license.
they dismissed the non-renewal complaint and moved to grant the license.
Yep, thank you.
Why do I always put that one last? It's when we're all at our lowest energy. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Mayor Devine.
Bring it home, Alderman Haas.
I move that we adjourn until our next scheduled meeting, which is September 3rd, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.